So today's class is going to be our final class on Microsoft Word. So thank you guys for all joining. It's going to be a fun class. I'm going to go a little bit fast because there is a lot to cover today. So as you can see, we're going to be working in Microsoft Word today. You should see my Word screen now. Say Happy Valentine here. And we're going to be working with this document. If you've attended any of our previous classes, you would be very familiar with this and how to create this document and set up some of the basic things in Microsoft Word to work with. So I'll just be starting from, we have a base document here. And so I'm just going to go down my list here. So one of the things that you'll need to know how to do in order to pass the certification is how to open up a Microsoft Word document. And the way that you do that is you go to File in the top left. So this is up here, this row at the top. I'll zoom in for you guys. This row here at the top, this is called the different tabs. So you have the Home tab, the Insert tab, the Draw tab. So you have several tabs, and you can see that as you change the tab, you get a different ribbon here. This is the ribbon. All of these icons across here are called the ribbon. And so as you move your different tabs, you're going to get different selections. Okay. Let's see here. And I'm just looking for my thing to zoom back out here. Get zoomed in way too far. There we go. Okay, and so these tabs are always going to be up here, no matter what tab you're on. You're going to have a different ribbon. Okay, so to open up a file, you just go to File, and most of you guys, if you're in Microsoft Word or even in Excel or somewhere else, you're going to have recent documents right here. And this is where you can pull up any document that you've recently opened, and it's going to just click it, see here, and it'll open up that document. So right now, I currently have this document open called Happy Valentine. So again, to open a document, you can go File, Recent, and you can find your document here. And all you have to do to open it is just left click. So you find baptism invite, for instance, I can left click and it'll open up that document and I can continue to work on it. Okay. All right, perfect. So that was the first thing I wanted to cover really quick. I also covered what a ribbon is. So the ribbon, again, just to refresh, is when you are on the Home tab here, this is your ribbon. And all of these little buttons in here are your icons. And each one of these icons does something specific. So if I click this icon, for instance, I just highlighted the bullets and I click this, and you see that when you put your mouse over a specific icon, it's going to tell you what it does. So you see here, this one says create a bulleted list. Click the arrow to change the look of the bullet. So in this case, I just got rid of the bullets, and I'm going to do the same thing down here. And you just left click and it gets rid of the bullets. Okay, so that's a pretty easy way to use the buttons up here in the ribbon. Is you just, anytime you want to make an adjustment to your text or you want to change the formatting, you can just select the items that you want to change. And then you can, for instance here, change the font color, you can highlight, you can make it bold. And if you want to ever go backwards because you did something, you say, you know what, I don't like that. I don't like the way that looks. Completely fine. You can always hit the back button here. And for every time you hit it, it will kind of move backwards any adjustments or anything that you've done that's new. So I'm going to hit forward one more time there. Okay, so that's our ribbon. Again, as a refresher, if you've been to any of our classes, you know that up top here, these buttons at the top, I'll zoom in a little bit again for you guys. These buttons here at the top, this is called our quick access toolbar. And these will always be here, these quick access toolbar options. So for instance, this one is save. This one is to change the color of the font or make it bold or go back. Those will always be there at the top, no matter what part of the tabs you're in. Notice I can move around and select the various options available. but the quick access toolbar will always be here at the top. So that's always there, and you can adjust that. You can add different things to it, but most people just use it to maybe if you want to quickly print your document, you could hit the button here to print your document. You could open up a new document, you could save, etc. Okay. Again, if you guys have any questions, feel free to please raise your hand, or you can even chat us. I'll be doing my best to monitor the Zoom chat. And let's see here. Erica can hopefully help me with that too, or whoever else might be online from Mission Africa. Okay. Just looking at my notes, making sure I'm covering everything. So today's class, for those of you who are online today, it'll be posted up on the Mission Africa YouTube page also. So feel free to review it. It might take me about a day to get it up. It takes a little bit to get it processed, but it will be up and available for review. And this will be a good class to review prior to you taking the Microsoft Word assessment on North Star, because everything I'm covering today is going to be on the assessment. So this will be a good one to review just before you take the assessment if you need to brush up on some things. Okay, what's the difference between save and save as? So when you save a document, so for instance, this document here is already called Happy Valentine Resume for T-Mobile. So I just created a really quick resume for somebody whose first name is Happy, their last name is Valentine. I did that for Valentine's Day. And if I wanted to just save this document again, I could just simply hit the save button here, and it's going to save it in the same exact location. But it's going to overwrite the previous version. So if the previous version, if I wanted to keep the previous version and I made some new adjustments, I could very easily go here to File and then save a copy or save as, depends on what type of computer you have and what version of Microsoft Word you have. But if I hit save a copy, that's going to save the most current version, and I can change the name. So currently, again, the name is Happy Valentine Resume for T-Mobile. If I change it to maybe you were applying for a different job with AT&T. So now I can hit save, and it saves that new document. It's the same document, right? It looks the exact same as the previous one that was called Happy Valentine Resume for T-Mobile. Now I did a save as because I wanted to save it as a different version of the same document. And so that's very useful when you're doing resumes. I often recommend it if you're applying for a new job, you should have a different version of your resume that's going to match the job description that you're applying for. So if you're applying for a job at T-Mobile and they have this job description, your resume should do its best to look close to that job description. If you're applying for a different job over at AT&T, I would recommend that you make your resume look similar to what they're asking for in that job description. So instead of starting over every time on your resume, you can just save as, you can make some adjustments, and it'll save you a whole lot of time. So a very, very good function there that you will use often as you start to use Microsoft Word. Okay. What if you wanted to save it to a different folder though? So right now, again, we can just go to File tab, save a copy. And here's where you can select the location. So notice that the last time I didn't change the location. I just changed the name of it. But now, what if you wanted to change the location of the document on your computer or on the cloud? You would just simply click here, just above where you name it at. So this is where you would name it at, but you would click this button. And I know you guys probably can't see this because I know I'm not sharing my screen, but let me actually change that. I'm going to share my entire screen just for a second so you guys can see it. All right, now you guys can see my entire screen, right? Perfect. And so now when you go to File, Save a Copy, and you choose the location here, it brings up a pop-up. And now I can, let's say I want to save it to my desktop. So I just want to save it straight over here. This is called your desktop. When you get rid of all the windows and all the things on your computer, and you just have kind of that first starting page, that is called your desktop. So if you wanted to save there, I'm just going to keep the same name, Happy Valentine Resume for AT&T, but now it's saving to my desktop. I'm going to hit save. And then let's see if we can find that document. I'm just looking for where it's saved on my computer here. We've got a bunch of documents here. Okay, there it is. So now you can see that this is the document just right here, Happy Valentine Resume for AT&T. And again, if I left click it twice on a double click, so a click, click, so a quick click, and it opens right back up. And so that is how you would save as. That is also how you would change the location of where you want to save your document. Okay. Let's see, if you saw, I'm just gonna pull over some things that I'm working on here. And as you can see here, these are Microsoft Word documents here in a folder that I've called February 2023 Final Microsoft Word class. Now, if that wasn't there, how would you know that this was a Microsoft Word document? There's a couple ways. You see the, and it's a little hard to see, maybe you guys can zoom in, but right here, the blue W on top of the icon tells you that it's a Microsoft Word document. And then if you right click, you could go to properties here. And you see here, it says DOCX. So type of file, Microsoft Word document, and it says DOCX. DOCX is computer language for this is a Microsoft Word document. So if you ever see DOCX, that is going to be a Microsoft Word document. If you see XLSX, that means it's a Microsoft Excel document. And if you see .pptx, so PPTX, that would be a PowerPoint file. Anybody have any other common ones that they're familiar with? Common extensions, we call that an extension, the letters at the end of a file. Anybody know what the extension is for a, oh, what's a common one? A Adobe Acrobat file? That's a pretty common one out there. Anybody know what it is though? No? Okay. It is a PDF. So a PDF is the extension for a Adobe file. And an Adobe file is mainly like a Word file, but it is one that is a little bit tougher for people to change. So if you want to just send someone something, you don't want them to make a lot of changes to it, then you can do that as a PDF document. All right, I'm going to open back up our document here and we'll keep chugging along. Okay. Here, as I zoom in, you guys can see that on our resume, we got a couple problems. We have some red underlines here. This is not a word, is it? REDUCD. It should be reduced, but we misspelled it because oftentimes as we're typing, we make little typos or we mistype something, we miss a letter. And Microsoft Word is actually going to help us, which is really nice. It'll give you this red underline anytime that it thinks that you've misspelled something. And so all you have to do to find out what the correct spelling is, maybe it's a word you don't know the correct spelling to, so you just do your best to type it out and then let Microsoft Word help you. I'm smiling because I do that a lot. There's big words that sometimes I don't know how to spell, and I'll just type out a couple of the letters, I'll let it give me the red underline, and then I use the computer to tell me how to spell that word. And so all you have to do if you see the red underline is right click the red word, the word with the red underline, and it's going to give you a couple of suggestions. So here you can see this one is saying, are you trying to say programs or program apostrophe S? So it gives you a few options. And when you find the one that is most appropriate for your situation, just left click the appropriate one, the one that you're trying to spell. And there you go, programs. Same thing down here. How do we know that, again, this is misspelled? It gives you the red underline, and you can just right click again, and it gives you a couple of options. It thinks you're trying to say reduced. If that's correct, left click reduced, and it just fixes it right there for you. Very, very, very amazing function that's going to help you make sure that you're using proper grammar and spelling prior to you sending out your documents. Okay. All right, perfect. All right, so now I'm going to zoom out, and everyone here has seen documents, and normally a document, you read it from the top to the bottom. It's skinny, but it's long. In computer world and in Microsoft Word, we call that being in a layout, and as you'll see here, called portrait. So to change from portrait, maybe you wanted to go to a layout of, I'll just put this up. So this would be landscape. This would be portrait. Landscape, portrait. And so if you had a document that was in portrait mode and maybe you wanted it to be wider and not as long, you can change that. And the way that you do that is you click the layout button here. I'll zoom in a little bit for you guys again. So you have the layout button here. And then you can click orientation. And then right now we're currently in portrait. You could actually go to landscape. So I'm going to click it and go to landscape. Then I'm going to zoom back out. So again, I want to toggle that. And I think I see that Pastor Tony has a question. I'm just going to toggle it one more time. So this is, again, your orientation for portrait. And then this is your orientation for landscape. So you guys should see it change from being a long document to a wider document. Pastor Tony, did you have a question?
No, I'm fine. I'm okay now.
Okay, okay. I see you though. I'm ready for you. If you have the question, just feel free. All right. So that is how you would rotate your document so that you would have a nice wide document if you prefer. Because we're doing a resume today, normally a resume would come in portrait mode. So I am going to, again, go up to our tab for layout. And that's, again, the layout of your document. And I'm going to go to size, orientation, and I'm going to go to portrait. Okay. And I'm just going to make sure I have one page here. Yes, perfect. All right, yep, that's one that you'll use a lot. If you use PowerPoint, you're probably quite familiar with landscape because most PowerPoint presentations are done in landscape, because when we look at a computer, most computers are not vertical, they're not really long, they're usually wide. And so most of you, if you have a computer in front of you, you're usually looking at a landscape view, i.e. if you have one of these, right? If your phone is this way and it's the long way, this is portrait. If you turn your phone this way to watch TV or Netflix, then this would be considered landscape, if you want to think about it that way. Okay. Let's see what our next topic is to cover today. Okay. Font type. This is a review, so I'll go over this a little bit quicker. So how to, again, upgrade your fonts. So this, again, up here at the top left, where you have the drop down here. Anytime you see an arrow, by the way, next to something, so you have an arrow here, this is your font size. Anytime you click that arrow, you can, of course, you get a drop down and you get lots of different options there. Same thing with this arrow. You have options for various different types of fonts here, which is a lot of fun to play with those. So that's how you would change your font. So if I wanted to change the font of the word experience, I could just highlight it. I can go up here to the drop down in the ribbon. And let's say I just wanted to increase the font to 20. And I also wanted to increase this one to 20, or let's say 14. And I want to increase this to 14. And I want both of them. If you want to select two things at once, you can hold down the control on your keyboard. And let's say I wanted to underline both of those also. So I highlight both and I hit underline one time, and I have both of them underlined. Okay. So now we have our resume starting to look a little bit better, right? So we have our experience section. You can see very quickly because of the use of the underline that I had 2 jobs. And anytime you do a resume, you want it to be in reverse chronological order. So from your most current position or your current position, and then work backwards to your previous position before that and before that, going back as far as you think is relevant to your prospective employer. So that is changing your font. How would you change the color? For instance, maybe you don't want red to be your name. You want to change that back to black. No problem. You highlight it and you select black. And let's make it a little bit bigger also. Because when they see a resume, we really want them to know it's you. Okay. All right. And then what's one common thing that we add to resumes? We normally, in a current resume these days, you would have a copy of your LinkedIn profile or a link to your LinkedIn profile. So we're going to add that because this is probably going to be on your assessment. So I'm going to show you guys how to add a link to your LinkedIn profile. Now, if you're going to print your resume, you would want that link, the entire link or the entire web address of your LinkedIn to be on your resume, because someone's not going to be able to just click it, of course, because it's on paper. And so you would actually want to print that entire thing out. And so I'm just going to go to my personal LinkedIn here really quick. So this is my LinkedIn page. You know, I've got my profile, it's got my photo and who I am. A LinkedIn page, for those of you who may not be familiar, is essentially your digital resume. This is a place where you can network with people that you've previously worked with. You can also meet new professionals. You think about Facebook, where you're there to meet friends and socialize and see pictures of folks' babies and their children, and you share folks your information and what you've been up to. LinkedIn is that for the professional world. So people, update their, what they've been doing professionally, any new education that they have or certificates, new jobs that they have. You can actually apply for jobs in LinkedIn. So if you're going to be in the professional world, it's something I would encourage you to look into getting. And I'm going to put the link in the chat here for anybody that wants to just check it out. It's just linkedin.com. And so you can set up a free profile there, and you can start to network and find people that you've worked with all over the world. And so this is my profile here, and this is my URL. Again, this is free. You don't have to come up with this web page. It's very easy to set up. It's very intuitive. It asks you for a photo. You upload a photo that's from your computer or your phone. So it might take 10 to 15 minutes to set up, but I'm going to copy my link. And how did I copy it? I just selected the entire thing. I right click and then I hit copy. And now I'm going to go back to my resume and I am going to paste my LinkedIn page right there. So again, if someone gets this digitally, how do we make it so that this link will go straight to my web page? So again, this is my web address if someone wanted to type it in, but I also want to make it easier for those who maybe they just want to click a link and go straight there. So if you right click and hit link down here at the bottom. So again, I just highlighted, right click, link. And then it says text to display. And then what is the web address? I'm going to hit OK. And when you see that blue underline, that's when you know your link is live. And so let's go ahead and test it. So if I put my mouse over the link, you can see that it brings up some words. And notice there, it says Control plus click. So I have to hold down the control button on my computer, or on my keyboard rather. Notice when I hold the control button down, I get the little hand there. Do you guys see that? Hold the control button, I get the little hand. If I click it now, and it opened up my LinkedIn profile there in a separate page. So very, very handy tool to add hyperlinks to your digital documents. Again, if you're going to be printing it out, then you need to go ahead and actually print out the entire web address, normally starting with www. Okay. All right. Any questions on that? Anybody? I know that's maybe a new skill that we taught today. Any questions? Everybody's good? Okay. We will have some time at the end also for questions. All right. Now let's go over again as we prepare for our assessments for Microsoft Word, and we're preparing to get you guys your Word certificates. How would you add bullet points to this? So here you said you worked at Microsoft, you're a risk manager too, and you started working there in July of 2020, and you currently work there. And now you want to talk about a couple of things that you do at Microsoft as a risk manager too, but you want it to stand out a little bit more. Maybe put some bullets in here. So how would we do that? We want to select all of the items that we want to put a bullet in front of, and then we can just simply choose bullets right here. It pops up just right there for you. Okay. And so there we go. We've got our couple bullet points to tell any prospective employers what we did there. And let's do the same thing down here under Costco. There we go. And so now you have bulleted statements, and this is a typical format for a resume, is that you have bulleted statements. They don't always need periods at the end. This is why it's picking up, by the way, the blue underlines that you're seeing here. It's wanting me to have a complete sentence and put bullets. Let's see what happens if I put a bullet after this. Yep, the blue went away. Same thing if I go here and here. So just to satisfy Microsoft Office, I'm going to put bullets behind each one of these blue ones because that's your grammar mistakes potentially. Okay. So that is how we would add bullets. You can do the same thing, by the way, for numbers. Let's see what happens if we select and we do numbers. Oh, too easy. It changes the bullets to numbers. If you wanted to do numbers for whatever reason, maybe you're making a list of things and you want someone to see how many ingredients are in a recipe. Maybe you want to use numbers versus bullets, because when you use numbers, it's easier to see how many ingredients are going to need to be purchased for that. Okay. Let's see what the next thing is here. Center align and left align. All right. So here we have experience and it's on the left. Notice that it's on the left. Maybe you wanted to put that in the middle because you thought that maybe that would look a little bit better. Not a problem. We can do this. And again, we've covered this in previous classes, so this should be a review. You just highlight the word or words that you want to center, and you go up to your ribbon. And as you put your mouse over these are the alignment icons here. This is for right align. This is for center align, which would be in the center of the page. And then this is for left align. Most things are going to default to left align because that's just the way that we as human beings read, right? We read from the top down and we read from left to right. But maybe you wanted to center the word experience. So again, I've highlighted experience, and we're just going to simply click center. And notice that it moves it over for you. You can click left align, and it'll move it right back to the left. So in this case, let's move it to the center, and I'm going to actually make it a little bit bigger. I want to make it 28 font. So I notice I just clicked the increase font size button, and it increases the font for me a little bit at a time. I think we're going to stay right there. Okay. All right. So let's say we wanted to, because sometimes when you're writing a resume, and I've had this issue, I have a lot of experience. I've had a lot of jobs. I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing, but I've had a lot of jobs. And so sometimes when I go to write my resume, there's a lot of past experience. I'm trying to get my education in there. I'm trying to get in, any references, people that I don't mind them calling to ask around about me. I have all my work experience, et cetera, et cetera. And so it's hard to get all that in sometimes. And so one trick that you can use to get more information in and a little bit of a tighter space is you can change the alignment and the spacing. So let's say here, I didn't want it to be spaced that much. Maybe I want it to go a little tighter. So if we go here to, again, line and paragraph spacing, currently it's at 2. Notice that as I scroll over to 1.5, it gets a little tighter. 1.15, it gets a little tighter. 1.0, that's pretty tight. So what is line spacing? It's the amount of space between each line. So you notice here, this is 1.0 line spacing, and this is 2.0 line spacing. So notice this is a little easier to read, yes, but you don't get quite as much information in that space because it is spaced out more. And so again, if you wanted to change it, you would highlight the area that you want to change, and you can do it straight from here, this pop-up menu. Again, we can go 1.0, 1.15, 1.5, 2, 2.5, 3. 3 is really spaced out. You know what you might use 3 for? If you were, let's say you were writing a test for someone and you wanted to leave space for them to physically write in their answers, you might even use a spacing of even bigger than 3. Let's see how big we can go. Let's go to line spacing options and use like 6. So this is a perfect example of if you're going to want to leave space for someone to write in answers, a 6 might be more appropriate. Obviously, you wouldn't want to use 1. There's nowhere to actually work. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to leave it at 2.0. And I'm going to go back and I'm going to fix this one. And I'm going to do this one at 2.0 also. Again, the function here that we're looking for is line and paragraph spacing. And you can also find it under the Home tab and then right here. And again, just as a reminder, anytime you put your mouse over a button, you are going to see exactly what that button is going to do, also known as an icon. That may be on your test also. What are these buttons up here called? An icon. Okay. We're moving right along. What is it, 6:43? We have about 4 or 5 more things to discuss, and then I'll open it up for any questions. Okay. Again, let's say you did the spacing here at 1.0 and you didn't like it. There's another way that you can undo that if you wanted to just go backwards to what it looked like before. And the easiest and the fastest way to do that is to use this back arrow. It says undo line spacing. So if you click that, it'll go back to what it was prior to you reformatting that. And there we go. Okay. Same thing here. Let's say I decided that I wanted this to all be highlighted in yellow because I wanted everybody to see what I did at Costco. And then someone comes along and says, you know what, you probably don't need that to be highlighted yellow, Eric. If that was the last formatting that I did, welcome, Lucy. If this was the last formatting that I did, I can hit backwards. I can hit undo, and it just undoes that. Okay. Very nice function, especially if you delete something. That would probably be the #1 case that I use it in, is if I delete something. And then I can just hit the back button and it'll pop it right back on there, which is really nice. Okay. We talked about hyperlinking. Okay, here we go. Let's talk about cutting and pasting and copying and pasting. So let's say, let's say you had some words here at the bottom and you wanted to move it up to the top. Instead of having to retype that up top, let's say we wanted to add it in up here. So we want to just move that up. So we can just highlight that. And if we click the button here for scissors, so that is to cut. So it's going to remove the selection and it's going to put it on what they call the clipboard. So you're not going to see it on the clipboard, but anytime you use the cut button, the scissors, it's going to cut it from where it's currently at. So let's look at that. Cut. And now I can go to where I want it to be pasted at, and I go back and I can hit the paste button or icon, and it's just going to put it right back up there. So what's the difference between cut and paste or cut and copy? Let's say I also wanted, here we are down here. So I wanted it at the top and I wanted it at the bottom. So we can go from here we are. And then now I'm going to, instead of cutting, because if we cut, it's not going to leave it up top. I want it up top and I want it down bottom. So let's go back and let's copy. So this icon here is copy. It's not going to cut it. It's going to leave it there, but now I can go down bottom, paste. And here we go. And it pasted it, even added a number. So I don't want the number, and here we are. So now we have it up top and we have it down bottom. So that's going to be your copy paste. That's a very useful function if you want to move things around, or sometimes you need it in multiple places in a document. Cut and paste and copy and paste are going to be some of your best friends. Let's see, let's look at margins. Margins are going to be how much space is on the side of your page. So on the left side and the right side, how much white space do you want on those margins? Again, another trick, if you wanted to get a lot of information onto a page, you could have narrow margins, so not a lot of white space on the sides, and that will give you more room to write. If you wanted to have wider margins, it's going to bring everything more towards the center. So let's look at that. So again, layout. And currently over here on the left, using that margins icon. Right now you can see we're at normal. Let's look at what happens when we go to narrow. If I just, again, move my mouse over narrow, let's see what happens. Oh, it went pretty wide. So you see the space now, and you can see it up here. There's not a lot of space between this and the edge of the piece of paper. Let's go back to normal. So this is our ruler at the top. When we're in normal, you can see it's here. And you have, about 2 different of these bigger clicks. If we go to narrow, notice how it spreads out. If we go to wide, notice now it's 1, 2, 3, 4 of those, the big ticks, let's call them. So I'm going to go back to normal, and now you can see it's 1, 2 clicks. And that's on both sides of the paper, by the way, right? So right now we're in normal margins, and you can see our data. Again, if we go to narrow, notice again, it doesn't give you a lot of extra room on the left and the right. Or if we go to wide, notice how it brings everything in really tight. Okay, why might you use that? Maybe you want to, make a document that's just right down the middle. Then maybe you would use the wide margins. If you're trying to get a lot of information on the page, you might use the narrow, like that. Okay. So that's a useful function, again, depending on how much information you're trying to get onto your page there. Okay, the last thing we've got here is how to print. Printing is pretty simple. There's a couple ways to do it. You can either go to your quick access toolbar up top here, and you can see I have a icon that says print, preview, and print. So let's click that. And it comes here to our printing menu. And here you can see a list. I have a list of different printers that I've used, which is very useful. And you can see this one specifically has the green check mark and it says ready. So that means that this printer is ready to print. There's other printers, let's say this one here, HP Desktop 2700 series, offline. My computer's not currently connected to that printer. So if I tried to print, it will not work. This one here, it is. So I'm just going to click that and I'm going to hit print. I want to print all pages. In this case, I only have 1 page. So I'm going to hit print. And it's coming out. My printer's right over here. Let me just grab it off the printer when it comes out. There it is. And there's our document. Happy Valentine's resume. So that's how you would print. The other way to print, if you don't have it on your quick access toolbar, would be simply go to File tab over here on the left and just find the area to print. Print, and it brings you to the same menu. And again, of course, you would hit print. If you wanted multiple copies of your resume because you plan on applying for a lot of jobs, you can increase it right here. You can print 10. You can print 4, 5, 6, up to you. So however many you want to print, and then hit print, and they'll all come out. So that's how you would print your document. Last thing I want to show you again, just to go back to the beginning, is again, once you've created your document and it's all ready to go, I'm going to just get rid of a little bit of this stuff. So let's say you have your nice and pretty resume, it's ready to go. The thing you want to do before you close it down is you always want to save. I recommend saving often if you're working on anything on your computer. The worst thing that can happen is you do a lot of work and then it's gone because you don't save. And so you always want to save, and then we can close. All right. I'm going to open it up for any questions.